to another episode of the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick.
I'm Ian.
And hopefully you're listening to us and watching us. I like I said in the previous episode, I don't know if anyone's subscribed to our channel anymore or not, but
No, these will be like something that someone will find a million years in the future and go,
yeah,
huh?
probably not. Who are these fucking idiots?
Yeah.
Probably
Well, they
not.
say the internet's forever, so who knows?
Yeah, that's
It
true.
was saved
That's
on
true.
some server that, some distant evolved species might find. And
They say everything
Yeah.
on the internet is permanent, right? It's
Yeah.
forever.
I guess.
But
we won't find out, but, that's what they say.
But there's like 200 episodes of this show if you'd like to go back and listen. But I guess my idea bringing the show back was that we haven't talked politics in a long time. And when we started Life in General, that's kind of what it was about. I mean, it was
Right.
more than just that, but
Right.
a lot of our conversations were about politics.
Right. We're politics adjacent.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, during the Biden administration, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about, I guess. I don't know. I felt like, I don't know, it was like Trump gives us a lot more shit to talk about. How about that? That might be the best way to put it.
Well,
So-
because the Biden administration was all just damage control anyway.
Pretty much. But, so yeah, I think that's why in 2022 we kind of started doing other things. And I think that's when we started doing the conspiracy show, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think.
Reality something. I don't remember what
Reality
it's called,
Redefined.
but- Yeah.
And that one.
Yeah.
But,
Did you hear they proved to a bunch of flat earthers that the earth is round?
I mean, of course, because it's really fucking
well,
easy to prove.
They did an expedition to Antarctica. And I forgot exactly what it was. It's something to do with the way the 24-hour cycle or whatever. And it was, if it went this way, it was definitely flat. If it went this way, it was definitely round. Well, obviously it's round. And a bunch of them made videos saying, I was wrong. But a bunch of them said, I'm wrong, but I'm not really wrong, which is mind-boggling. But it was funny as hell.
Oh,
But
no,
there were several flat earthers, like YouTube flat earthers, were like, yeah, I got this one wrong, which was impressive.
well, I mean,
To a
the Earth is
point.
fucking round, so I mean,
Right. Right. It's always been round.
if you've been up in a plane before and you can see the curvature of the Earth, I mean,
Right.
it's,
Right.
I forget what. So if you watch, obviously you don't do this, but if you have an Apple TV, they have these high def screensavers that come
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. I've seen it at
And
your
I
house
was-
and at my dad's house.
Yeah, I was upstairs. We were watching TV just within the last couple of days, and there was this picture that came up of I don't know, it was in the middle of the desert somewhere, but it has this wall. It's this mountain in the background looks like a wall, and I made a joke about oh yeah, just like the ice wall. my wife is like, what ice wall are you talking about? I'm like, the ice wall around the flat Earth.
Right. Keeps
Yes.
everything in. It's the plate.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
bowl.
Yeah.
Kinda. Not a bowl, but it's more like a plate.
It's just yeah, I've never understood the whole flat earth thing. But there's a lot of people that should fucking know better
Yeah.
that believe in it.
Well, it's just funny how the cognitive dissonance that still existed with some of them,
Oh, I'm sure. Well, yeah, though I'm sure they're looking for any shred of evidence left to hold on to.
Yeah. Well, there's no evidence, so I mean, it's
No, the earth is not flat. So
no.
really easy to prove.
It,
I still like the guy that I don't remember if you showed me the video or if I saw it online, but it was the guy that puts a ball on the ground and is if the earth was round, it would roll.
no, that was me.
Yeah.
I saw one where a guy used a fence, and he was talking about how they're using the because it was a rotating fence, like a gate kind of thing, and he was like, see, it's rotating, but it's flat. It's like,
Some of
you're a
the
fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot, man.
I felt dumb just watching some of them damn
Yeah,
videos.
I mean, in many ways, it's kind of how I felt too. It's like, but then I would go and watch Simon Dan because that's like his big thing is debunking flat earthers.
Yeah.
Doesn't really have to try too hard. And it's just fun watching him kind of deconstruct these idiot theories and
There's a
experiments.
lot of them out there.
Yeah,
The experiments kill me.
I know. Because they'll use like a globe and a light and see, you couldn't do this. And he'd be like, well, you got to get your measurements right. It's all about math. Do that. It works. See? Look. That's hilarious.
It's really easy to prove that stuff, I think.
Yeah.
But I did want to talk to you about something, though. I do have a topic. Our first episode back, I really had nothing to talk about other than the election of Donald Trump. I wanted to look ahead, though. I want to look ahead to 2028.
Yeah.
Who do you think will be the candidates? Who do you think is going to run? Let's start there.
Well,
because you know who the favorite is right now.
I don't.
Kamala Harris. Which I think is the dumbest fucking thing because
the country's not going to vote for a woman.
No.
They've
No,
proved
it's been
that
proven.
twice.
I saw this conversation on social media a couple of days ago about this topic. And people kept saying, well, it has nothing to do with her being a woman. If they put up a qualified woman, I'd vote for her.
Right.
Like, but you voted for Donald Trump, not
Right.
the person that was like
Well,
overly fucking qualified. Hillary Clinton was fucking overly qualified also.
Right. To a degree, but that just shows male privilege, white male privilege. To because the qualifications for Obama could not have won if he wasn't a genius, a constitutional genius, and someone who could, with charisma. He being literally the best the Democratic Party had to offer, he couldn't have won if he was, mediocre, like Donald Trump or George Bush or Mitt Romney or even John McCain. Those were all mediocre people in the grand scheme. By comparison to Obama, they were mediocre. Republicans can do that. Democrats cannot. And especially if you're running a black man or a woman, they have to be exceptional to get a position that a white male, especially a white Republican male, barely has to even come close to.
I don't think that they should run a female candidate.
I don't either. And that's
because
I don't think the country's ready, and mainly because of that privilege aspect.
I think I look at it this way, like, and this is something that I've said for decades, that just because you're Republican doesn't mean you're a racist. Right. But if you're racist,
you're probably
more likely you're a Republican.
Right.
That's not the same for sexism. There are sexists across both sides.
Right.
And if you don't get the support, an overwhelming majority of support from one side, you're not going to win.
Right.
And it's just that simple. I don't think that, Hillary Clinton was not my pick in 2016.
To be honest with you, neither was Kamala.
Correct.
And I'm saying that for myself.
Both those people were overly qualified compared to who beat them.
Right. Well, the same person beat them. But my point is that they were overqualified. They're more than qualified to do the job that they were asking to do. But they weren't exceptional. They weren't mediocre, but they weren't exceptional. And if you're going to be a woman, and especially a woman of color, you're going to have to be exceptional. Kamala Harris is not exceptional. She's good. She's good at what she does. I think she has the intentions. Her intentions are in the best interest of the country, but she's not exceptional.
I think I guess my thing is, like, if she had 2 years to run instead of 3 months, 4 months, I still don't think she'd beat him.
I agree. And then when there was optimism with me during the campaign, deep down I knew it was false optimism, but it was optimism nevertheless. But once you saw the results of the election, because she did worse than Hillary technically, because at least Hillary got the popular vote. So
And
whereas
I'm gonna kind of cover that next, but finish up what you're
okay,
saying though.
but Kamala did not, and I think Kamala was a better candidate than Hillary, given the amount of time she had. She made far less mistakes than Hillary made. She's younger than Hillary. I wouldn't know say she's more qualified because Hillary knows how to play the game. She's a politician.
And Hillary
And,
was former first
uh,
lady. She was also a senator.
senator,
She was also
right.
Secretary of State. Like she was
Right.
pretty fucking qualified.
As far as the details of the job go, yes, she was more than qualified. But I still think that Kamala was a better candidate, and she did worse. And you could chalk that up to the fact that she had less time, but I think it's a bigger thing at play, and I think that's what you're getting at. It's the
So
country's just not ready for a woman.
it's actually even bigger than that. If all of the ballots had been counted, like if they had counted every ballot, Kamala Harris probably won that election. From the government's own statistics, there were 5 million voters that were purged from voting rolls, and another 2 million ballots that weren't counted. So, do you know what a provisional ballot is?
Yeah, it's a ballot where you either don't have your ID on you or whatever, and you're given one so that you can vote, and then they would verify later.
Or you've been purged from the voting roll, you show up, you're like, hey, I live here, I've voted here for years, and they're like, sorry, you're not on here. They give you a provisional ballot.
Right.
You know, the 40% of those provisional ballots don't get counted.
No,
and if you're black,
surprise me.
If you're black, you're like 10 times more likely not to have your ballot counted. So what people do, and I didn't know this about this till just recently, is this is something that the Klan started doing in the early 1900s. They would go around and they would challenge voters in majority black areas. So that's what they did in the run-up to the 2024 election. There was one person alone that challenged the votes of 4,000 people. So 4,000 people had to prove that they were a registered voter, right? They were given a provisional ballot, and 40% of them were counted. So what they did in the 2024 election, they went to heavily Democratic areas
and challenged
people. They went to purple areas and challenged them. So,
but Donald Trump's election was stolen from him.
Yeah, I'm not saying the 2024 election was stolen. I'm saying it was rigged in one person's favor. Right?
I mean,
because Democrats don't stoop to those levels to win win elections, right?
No.
Republicans only win elections when less people vote.
Right. Or less votes are counted.
Look at voting in the last 50 years.
No, I know. You're 100%
More people show up, Democrats win.
Yeah. That's because numbers wise, I think Democrats outnumber Republicans in this country.
It's pretty close, but Donald Trump and the Republican Party blamed the loss of the 2020 election on mail-in ballots. So they made a concerted effort to go out and reduce the amount of people that can vote by mail.
Right.
Because when you can vote by mail, more people do it because you can just fill out your
thing and send it away.
And you don't even need to mail it. You can just drop it off. Right?
Right. Yeah, drop it off at the city hall or whatever.
So
that's how my dad votes.
What's that?
That's how my dad votes.
Yeah, that's how I vote too.
But, I like going. I like being there. I like seeing people, and I feel like I'm part of the process more. I enjoy going to the ballot, going to the polling place.
And I was wrong on my numbers. So over 1 million provisional ballots weren't counted. If you were black, you were 400% more likely not to have your vote counted in the 2024 election.
Right.
Because they went into predominantly black areas.
Yep.
That challenged the voters. There was one guy, I guess there was a bunch of military personnel that had that were purged off the voter rolls also. Someone said there was one guy who was telling, the article I was reading about this. He flew like 5,000 miles to come to the U.S. from whatever base he was on, because he had to prove that he was who he was so he could vote in the election. So I mean, it's shit like that that really I think hurts the country overall. You know, it's because
Well,
in the 2020 election, what was the one thing that Republicans kept saying? Count the votes. Count the votes. That's what they kept chanting.
Right.
Count the votes because they thought the Democrats were hiding votes and you know, count the votes. You know, if you counted all the votes, Kamala, she at least wins the popular vote,
right?
and more than likely she probably wins the election.
Because the percentage was it was a narrow percentage. You got the popular vote by what fraction of a percent, right?
Yeah.
It's like 49 point something to 48 point something.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't even a full percent.
But even with all that being said, I still don't want her to run again.
No, God no. She doesn't have. She's not exceptional. She doesn't rally the
She's
people.
not a man.
Well, I mean,
she's not a man,
and I feel like that's not something we should have to say.
I don't like that being the truth. I'm not saying that to be proud of that, but
You're right.
woman is just not going to win.
And to be completely honest, I almost feel like we need to run a white guy because it's let's face it, it's probably going to be JD Vance.
So they did a straw poll at CPAC and he won the straw poll.
And that's only if Donald Trump decides that he wants to stand down. We still have that to deal with.
So then that's something else I was thinking about. There's a couple of things else that could go on. So JD Vance could run for president with Donald Trump as his vice president.
Right.
And
for one term.
After JD Vance wins the election, he can step down. And Donald Trump can become president again.
So pull basically a Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
And then he'll have another 4 years to try and get the change so that there's no term limits for presidents.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is what Putin did.
The other thing is, like, I think the more likely thing is you're going to have a JD Vance, Donald Trump Jr. ballot.
Because that's my guess. That's been my theory all along, that they want to try and keep that Trump name powerful so that they can get the next generation in there. Because you've got Trump Jr., you've got Ivanka, and you've got Barron.
She's not going to run. She can't win. She's a woman.
She could win on her name.
I don't think so.
No, she could. I really do believe she could.
I think after these 4 years are up, I think the Trump name is going to be so fucking toxic because he's going to hurt so many fucking people in this country.
We said the same thing after the first term. We did. We all did.
I didn't because, like I said, I've been saying it for years. If it wasn't for COVID, he fucking wins that election.
Yeah, well, I don't know. But all things being equal, it doesn't matter because I don't think she wants it anyway. But Trump Jr. definitely fucking wants it. And I know JD isn't going to go, well, I was vice president for your dad, so I'll be vice president for you. That's not
not going to happen.
No. But you're great. I could definitely see a Vance Trump instead of a Trump Vance.
I think that is
probably the most likely scenario.
I think that's the likely scenario for Republicans.
Right. As far as Democrats go, running Kamala would be a big mistake.
I think so.
But I don't
Especially
know.
Since I hope she's governor of California at that point. But
well, yeah.
Because Gavin can't run again. Right. His term is up in 2026.
And I feel like the fires have tarnished him a bit.
Why? Because they've spouted a bunch of bullshit that are nothing but a bunch of fucking lies?
Doesn't matter. Republicans have been doing a lot better in California the last few years. And I don't know if it's because of Gavin Newsom. I like his talk. I like his policies as far as he describes them. I don't agree with a lot of the things he's done in California. The red tape that has been created. And I guess it doesn't all come down to him.
But that's not because of him. That's because of environmental regulations and lots of other shit in California that's been in place for decades.
But even their environmental regulations have been detrimental to green policies because they're so fucking strict. And he's signed the laws. He's gone along with it. He hasn't fought against it. That's a negative, at least for me.
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. If he's the candidate, he's got my vote, and I will feel better about a vote for Gavin Newsom than I did for Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton, and not because he's a white man, just because I like him better. He's more exceptional as a candidate, but I still think he's on the toxic side. I don't, or at least on the tarnish side. We won't say toxic because he's not toxic. He's
No,
on the
I don't
tarnish
think
side.
so.
I think they need to find someone who is essentially Bernie Sanders but young, and that person doesn't exist.
I mean, yes and no, but it's probably AOC, but she's toxic as shit too.
She's
So
toxic. Yes. Well, that's who I've heard.
yeah,
That they're propping up, which would be worse than Kamala. If it's between AOC and Kamala, I'd take Kamala any day. And don't get me wrong. Again, I agree with her on the vast majority of stuff, but her methods come off as preachy, and I just don't think she's good. She cannot sway. I don't think she can even sway the vast majority of Democrats. She sure as hell isn't going to get any Republican votes. And she's definitely not going to get that many independent votes.
this is kind of the way I look at it. Is if you're going to beat an incumbent, which is what JD Vance is going to be at that point,
Essentially, yeah.
you're going to have to be a household name. George Bush was that when he won in 2000
Because he had the Bush name.
because he had the Bush name. And I think that's what gives Gavin Newsom a leg up. And you know me. I've been on the Gavin Newsom train for 15 years now. He has the household name. He's a known commodity. You know, his debate with Ron DeSantis was watched by millions of people. And he cleaned Ron DeSantis' clock during that.
That's the funny thing. It's not hard. Democrats generally do very well in debates with Republicans because Republicans don't have fucking policies.
Not if you're Joe Biden.
Well, that had more to do with just his inability to articulate.
That and
From his stuttering and his age.
The guy's 7,000 years old too. So like,
No, he's only 6,999.
but still,
He's got a couple good years.
The Joe
left in him.
Biden of 2024 is nowhere close to the Joe Biden of 2020. Like in that 4 years,
If we could have gotten the Joe
declined
Biden,
so
Joe
much.
Biden of the 80s with Joe Biden of the 2020s policies, of course, it would have been no contest.
Yeah.
But
So that's why I think, like, you know, the other name that's been floated out there is Pete Buttigieg.
so I don't know
who
if
I
he's
really
ready.
like.
I really like him too, but I don't think he's
The
ready.
country's not going to vote for a gay guy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think they'd vote for a gay guy over a woman,
Probably.
gay white man anyway, over a woman.
So that's the ticket I would like to see.
Gavin Newsom,
And
Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg. Yeah.
Now, that I think could help what I believe is some of the tarnish element to Gavin Newsom. That could help him because Buttigieg doesn't really have any baggage other than being gay and a little bit from being
there
under,
is
with
some.
the
You know,
Biden,
so the big
with the
knock
Biden
on-
administration.
the big knock on him is that he's never really had a big position, right? He was only mayor of South Bend, Indiana, and from that he was the transportation secretary.
Right.
They had the big train derailment in Ohio that he somehow took a bunch of fucking blame for. I don't
Right.
really know how, but
Well, because a Republican state that doesn't fund its infrastructure is going to blame a Democrat for
Yeah.
everything anyway.
well, they just said he didn't respond fast enough, and blah blah blah, whatever.
They said the same thing about Gavin Newsom with the fires. They said the same thing about Biden with the hurricanes. And at least Biden never said, hey, you didn't vote for me, so I might not give you your federal funding that you're asking
Yeah.
for.
Because I think, like, the way the next 4 years are going to go, I think Democrats are going to be in a strong position in 2028 if they do a couple of things right. If they
Well, they're
play
gonna
a
have
better,
to-
if they play a better ground game and actually be on the offensive,
On the ground, and
Yeah.
on the defense.
and go at Republicans where they can. If they play a 50-state strategy, which they haven't done that in decades either,
Right.
you know, they don't go to Alabama. I don't know why, because they're like, oh well, we're not going to win Alabama, so we'll just give up on it. Don't have that. I get it. You need to have. It takes more money to run a campaign like that, but that's what they need to do to win.
But the campaigns, both of them, spent more than probably all the campaigns of the 20th century combined on one campaign. They've got the money. They should just spend it better. And they need to go on the fucking podcasts. I hate to say it. Kamala should have gone on Joe Rogan.
Yeah. The funny thing is, Joe Rogan kind of came out against Donald Trump recently, which I was kind of fucking surprising.
Well, it's because he's saying all the bullshit. But see, he's a TV personality, which is, just one step above being a politician. If you spin it right, it doesn't matter that you supported him. Yeah. If you spin it right. But
yeah, no, you're right. They need to go to where people listen, because that was the thing that I don't think anyone really expected to see in 2024 were the inroads that Donald Trump made in younger generations. Right.
Especially given his policies.
In 18 to 25, I mean, he made huge inroads.
Over 2020 and over 2016, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you need to go on. You need to go to the fight. You can't go to the allies. Can't walk behind the lines. You got to go. You got to cross the line. You got to go to the front lines everywhere. They should be doing that anyway.
And that's something I give Pete a lot of credit for. I mean, hell, he
goes on
Fox News at this point.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I think he would make a good VP pick. He should have been the VP pick before. Don't get me wrong. What's his name? I liked him.
Tim Walz.
But that's the problem. Who? I can't remember his name.
That's what didn't make any sense to me. Like when they were trying to narrow down the choice for VP, he was like the 6th pick. Everyone kept saying no.
Right. And that's part of it. But the problem he was the 6th pick and people kept saying no is because they didn't want anyone to outshadow Kamala. In terms of
I think
that what I was talking about, that exceptionalism, that spark that Obama had, he didn't have it. So they didn't want anyone who even had a slightly more spark than her. The guy from Pennsylvania, I can't remember his name either.
Shapiro.
More spark.
Here's the thing. But they were all turning her down because they didn't want to get tied to a losing ticket.
And if they knew there was a losing ticket from the get-go back then
that's why they all said
no. They're all to fucking blame.
That's why they said no. Because why be part of a losing ticket and then ruin your chances potentially down the line? Doesn't matter for Tim Walz. Tim Walz is never going to run for president, so he doesn't fucking care.
He even said that. He says, I don't want to be president.
Minnesota.
Be the guy he is, which is a good guy. That's what he was too nice. That was the problem. But I liked him, but he wasn't a good candidate.
No. It was a good choice. But they didn't pick. I don't know if the governor of Pennsylvania said no or if they just didn't ask him.
I just feel like he might have overshadowed her. At least it's all about perception. Whether or not, it's not about who's smarter or who's better. It's really about how the optics are. And
Josh Shapiro, that's his name.
Josh Shapiro.
I was trying to think of his first
more
name.
Aggressive in terms of his going out and campaigning. He was aggressive. He was, and you can't have the VP more aggressive than the president.
I'm going to tell you something else, though. Another reason why Josh Shapiro wasn't asked or wasn't picked is because he's a Jew.
Yeah. It was a bad. It was a bad campaign cycle to be Jewish.
Yeah. I know it sounds bad, but I'm just being honest.
Yeah. No. That's what we have to be.
The Biden administration's stance on Israel and Palestine hurt him. And Kamala's position hurt her. Now, I don't think it was enough to sway the election.
Oh no, there was a lot of people on the podcast that I listened to that were calling in and writing and commenting that was their primary reason for not voting for Kamala.
Yeah. Which is dumb because,
right,
the other guy is Hitler that you're voting for.
Right, literally. Almost literally.
Yeah.
that's what these shows would say. They're like, you're really going to throw your vote away on a third party or not at all, because the current administration isn't doing enough for Palestinians, knowing full well that the person who's going to win, because it's a binary choice, two choices. You get two. That's it. It's a fucked up system, but that's the way it works. Out of the two, one is going to continue to at least somewhat be supportive of Palestine. Maybe not enough, but somewhat. You're going to throw that away in lieu of the person who's going to basically give nothing to Palestine.
He wants to eradicate them and turn their land into a casino.
Yeah, he wants it to be a resort city.
Yes.
And
there you go.
Right. So sure, you got it.
Great pick.
Yeah, don't vote for the one who will at least try to find a peaceful solution that may not benefit the Palestinians, but at least it won't be a genocide of the Palestinians. And you just give the vote. Yeah, I honestly, anyone who is not a diehard Republican or a Trumper, who either voted for Trump or didn't vote at all, or voted third party, I feel like I want to slap them. And if they say anything about, oh my God, I didn't know this was coming. We all fucking knew this was coming. He has been saying it. He has been saying it. He has never, give him credit, he has never gone back on what he said he was going to try and do. Yeah. Didn't always succeed, but he's always followed through. If he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. He's going to try to do it. And he said that about Gaza back when he moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He said that would be perfect property to sell resorts on. He said that back then.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
I know. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I'm just saying I swear I will not ask someone who they voted for because I don't care. But when I've heard people complain, my response, this is my go-to response, I'm going to use it forever, is this is why elections matter and why you need to pay attention. Period.
Yeah. Well, you're right. The problem is in this country, a vast majority of people don't vote.
Right.
More people didn't vote than did vote in the 2024 election.
Well, of course. The average turnout for either side is it's less than 100 million. That's less than a third. Yeah. Always. No, even Obama, I don't think got more than 85 million. It did get 85 million votes, but 85 million came out and voted out of 360 plus, 370 million probably now, but it might be a lot less once they deport a lot of brown people.
Yeah. Well, all the people that they say are voting illegally,
right?
Which has always been bullshit. Also,
I know.
Trust me, I've talked to and been around more undocumented immigrants than everyone. Probably most people out there. I'll leave it put that way. I worked in immigration. I dealt with them every fucking day, right?
Yeah.
They're not fucking voting.
No.
Because they don't want to get caught.
Yeah. What's the one thing a person who's hiding from the government wants to do? Let's go to a polling place.
Yeah. Let's do that. Somewhere
let's
where
try to commit fraud.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense. But
no, it doesn't.
To stupid people that live in the middle of nowhere that don't fucking know any better, it makes sense to them. That's why someone loses an election is because there's a bunch of illegals voting for them.
Well, but the truth is you've got one issue voters who can't see the big picture, can't see the forest for the trees. That's the biggest problem, and you get just complete apathy. When time and time again, when it gets down to this kind of thing, every vote does count. Doesn't your one vote? Yeah, your one vote is going to shift literally the balance, but everyone's one vote shifts the balance. So again, big picture. No one can see the big picture, and I'm not even that smart, and I can see the fucking big picture.
I just like anyone else on the Republican side. Do you think that can step up?
No, because
Nikki Haley had a shot there for a little while.
Yeah. Well, she threw that away because the only people who were really siding with her were the people who didn't want Trump again, and she's gone all Trump, so she's lost them. Yeah. And she's not going to get the Trumpers because, let's face it, Trump's not going to support her. She's not going to help his brand. So I honestly, I mean, we know it's JD. We know it's going to be JD. Whether or not his VP pick is Junior remains to be seen, but it does seem the likeliest scenario, unless people do start to wake up and realize how shitty a mistake they made on Trump, and that has to be on both sides.
I don't think it's going to happen though, because
Well, see, it
people,
could, because Trump's base, not the Republican base, but the Trump's base is not the entire Republican Party. They fall in line because that's what Republicans do, but overall, his base isn't. It's probably what 45% of the Republican Party, maybe less.
his base,
His base,
no,
his
I would say Trump's like solid base of the Republican Party, I would say is probably 70 to 75%.
Those are people who would follow him to the gates of hell.
Yes. 70
Really?
to 75%. Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought it was that high. That's disturbing. That's disturbing. But I would say he's going to have to lose some of that. Because people can't be, he can't take all this shit away from them and them still go, oh, he's my guy.
I think the angle that they're playing right now is that they're going to do all this early on, knowing that in 2026 they're probably going to lose the House
And the Senate.
potentially lose the Senate.
Yeah,
right?
I see them, if they continue doing what they're doing, they're going to lose both.
But I think the game that they're playing is they're doing all this now because by 2028, like I said before, people have really short memories. They're going to forget what happened in 2025 when it comes to 2028.
Yeah, well, the Democrats need to get their shit together.
Yeah.
So
But
there's one lady.
That's something I've been saying now for 40 years.
Right.
You know,
Well,
maybe not
I
40
feel
years.
like they had their shit together, but then again, I don't know how much I was paying attention. Didn't have access to as much information as we do now. But in '93, when Clinton won his first, I feel like the Democratic Party was running on all cylinders, firing on all cylinders.
Nah.
By his second term, no, but his first maybe.
I think had Ross Perot not dropped out temporarily, I don't
Might have
think
had
Clinton
President
wins
Perot.
in 92. What's up?
You think Perot could have won?
He was leading before he dropped out, or was at least fucking close. I have to go back and see. But even after dropping out, he didn't finish that.
Because I was going to
far.
say I don't feel like Bush Sr. had a chance in that election.
No,
I really
it was
don't.
either going to be Bill Clinton or Ross Perot.
Again, like I said, I don't really know. We didn't have access. I didn't have cable, so I wouldn't even have been able to watch CNN back then. So all I had was like local news, and I probably didn't watch like world news unless it was just on. But I never went out of my way to watch it. I was 15 years old.
I mean, I had cable, but there wasn't such thing as cable news back then.
Just CNN. CNN was the only one, I think, back then.
In 92?
Yeah. CNN came out in the late 80s.
Did it?
Yep.
I don't remember watching CNN until like the middle to late part of the...
I remember being familiar with
90s.
CNN, but like I said, I didn't have cable then, so we were poor folk.
Gotta Google it here. Oh,
wow. CNN started June 1st, 1980.
oh, geez.
That's when it was founded. When did it first air? Let's see. Yeah, it launched on Sunday, June 1st, 1980. Its base headquarters was in Atlanta, and it had satellite headquarters in Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, Washington, D.C. So, yeah, CNN was around.
Yeah, so Bill Clinton won with just shy of 45 million votes, which sounds like absolutely nothing nowadays.
Right.
You know, considering the last two elections, the winning candidate got what, over 80 million votes. So 45 million votes is pretty. So seems kind of low, but yeah, he won with 45 million votes. Ross Perot got 20 million votes. But like I said, had he not, because he dropped out for a period of time in the middle of the election cycle, and I think that's what killed him.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Perot had some good ideas, but I feel like he would have.
Well, the reason Ross
He would've
Perot
been a
was even
problem.
going to do anything is because
He's going to balance
how
the
kind
budget.
of toxic George Bush was at that time. You know, breaking his pledge not to raise taxes and all that. I mean, that absolutely crushed him in 92. And that's why so many people lit from him and voted for Ross Perot. I mean, it would have been an interesting election to see how it would have turned out had those 20 million votes gone for either of the other two candidates. Because Bill Clinton only beat George Bush by about 5 million votes.
Right. Yeah, and I guess if Perot was running mostly basically on fiscal conservatism,
Yeah, I think it's pretty much
I
what it
feel
was.
like the vast majority of those votes he got would have been originally Republican votes.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, the same thing happened in '96 also. Ross Perot got 8 million votes in '96, and Bill Clinton beat Bob Dole by about 8 million votes.
Yeah. I feel like Clinton might have gotten the vast majority of those Ross Perot votes, so
Possibly.
just because the economy was improving considerably at that point.
Oh yeah, '96. Yeah, I mean, it was a great time to be in this country in 1996.
Right.
I mean, you had
On many levels.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but on many levels it was. There
Well,
was
yeah,
hope. To me there was hope on the horizon.
but yeah, I think Nikki Haley could be a viable candidate in 2028. I think she'd have a steep hill to climb.
Yeah. But I feel
But
like
Danny Vance is a fucking slimy kind of guy. Also, it's
yeah. Well,
I could see him not coming off all that well.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, he's been very quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the VP. He's supposed to be quiet, but
in 4 years he's not going to be quiet though.
Right. But that's my point. He stays out of it. He's just gonna do his job. He's gonna do this, break the ties in the Senate, and he's gonna sit back and collect his vice president check and live in the vice president mansion, and he's gonna build up his own coalition behind the scenes. I think a lot of anything that, if there is anything that's toxic on the Trump name, he will have distanced himself enough from it.
Yeah.
That's his plan. I mean, that's probably the plan of every VP, but like you said, he's a slimy piece of shit.
Well, yeah, he was a big never Trumper before he was Trump's VP.
Right?
Like he
called
Donald Trump Hitler. He said he's America's Hitler.
Yeah, he was right.
And now he's the VP. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's basically saying this is America's Hitler, but he's winning, so I'll take his side. I'm
gonna take the winning side.
Yeah. See which way the wind's blowing. Okay, I'm going that way.
But
maybe that was a selling point for him. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But those, other than the names that we've said, the other possible Democrats are all people that no one's ever fucking heard of before.
Well, I'm just going to say it right now. AOC, Kamala, need this. It's not AOC's time. She's young enough. She can wait it out. Maybe in the 30s she can do it, but not in the 20s. Buttigieg is a good choice, but as a VP, straight across the board, I think he'd make a good VP because it'd give him that experience.
I think he'd make a good president also, but I don't.
He would, but he's young.
Not there yet.
He's not there yet, exactly. But get him in as a VP, then you've got some experience you can grow on. Like I said, I don't know. I like Gavin Newsom. I just don't know because he can come off as, I don't know.
Not he comes off. He can. I see how he can come off as another slick politician.
Yeah, right? But also elitist, a little elitist. I don't think he is, but I mean, he can look like that. Well, it's all about optics. It's not about quality of candidate.
I think it's more so the fact that he's from California, and that's always going to be a big knock.
Yeah, well,
the West Coast elites.
He could embrace Reaganism. Yeah. It would still be center from where Trump is, or left of Trump, if he did that.
What's that?
That would, if he went Reagan style, he would still be left of Trump.
Yeah, but the other person they talked about running is Marco Rubio.
Yeah,
and I think he's. I don't know. He comes off as a slick ass politician, also. But
yeah, I don't know. I know he's one of the okay brown people. He's still a brown person. Because he's Puerto Rican, and for all, same people were like Obama. He's from Kenya. are the same people who would vote for Marco Rubio would be like, oh, he's from Puerto Rico. He's not an American citizen.
Oh yeah,
You know what I
because
mean?
a lot of people don't even understand that Puerto Rico is part of the U.S.
Right. So, I
Um.
don't know if I buy DeSantis has kind of tarnished his brand a bit.
Oh yeah, I don't think he's got a shot. The other name that's been floated out there is Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
No, because she just comes off as like, I don't know how to say this. It might come off as sexist, but
It probably will come off as
it
sexist,
probably
but
will.
say it anyway, Ian. There's going to be like probably 3 people to watch this anyway, so.
Well, I'm not really sure how I want to say it because I'm trying to avoid it sounding sexist, but I don't know if it can. But she comes off as a naggy housewife. She just every time I see her, I just picture what a movie would portray that bitter, naggy housewife. It's always bitching because you're having another beer. It's bitching because you're never home and you want to go out with the guys and watch football and you don't cut the grass and you don't do the dishes. And I don't know, I just get that vibe from her. Plus, she's a religious nut.
Well,
so was her father. So.
Yeah, her father was a big pile of dog shit too. So
yeah, but
she's the governor of Arkansas, right? I think she is.
I don't know.
Pretty sure she is.
For paying attention to those fuckers.
But yeah, I don't think there's. I mean, at this point now, granted, we're 4 years out.
Yeah, really. The election cycle is going to be starting up here pretty soon for 2026.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying though. Is like in 2004, no one saw Barack Obama being what he was in 2008. So it's kind of hard to sit here right now and play that long game.
Well, Barack Obama wouldn't have had a chance if it hadn't been for if that one guy hadn't had to drop out of the race for his Senate seat.
Oh yeah, because that's how he got his.
Yeah, it's how he got the seat because he got kind of swapped into that guy's place when he had the sex scandal.
No, you're thinking of. No, that's not how he got his Senate seat.
Look it up. The guy who was running for his Senate seat had to drop out because it was a sex scandal.
Let's see here. But he won the election though. He wasn't like.
Oh no, he won. He wasn't like he wasn't appointed. And all that sex stuff
that's what
came
Rod
out before.
Blagojevich went to prison for, was trying to sell Barack Obama's
right.
Senate.
Barack won the election. He wasn't the candidate originally. He wasn't supposed to be the candidate.
He took over for I don't
remember his name.
Peter Fitzgerald is who was the senator before him. Is that right?
Well, there's 2 senators from Illinois, so he might have been one of them.
Yeah, trying to find the Senate campaign for that year. Regardless, though, it's so hard to see,
especially
that far ahead, especially in politics, because 2 months in politics could be a lifetime, depending on what goes on. But so I mean, there could be people that come up on both sides that end up being, the nominations or the nominees in 2028. But I don't think so. I think it's going to be. I mean, unless J.D. Vance decides not to run, which I think is also possible, but unlikely.
No, that man has eyes on the prize.
And actually, Ian, it might be a moot point. There might not be an election in 2028.
I'm not sure there will be one in 2026.
I think there'll be one in 2026. I think it's also possible that Donald Trump just says, "I'm going to stay."
Yeah.
Force me out.
Well, that would be civil war.
I mean, it's possible, though, is it not?
It would take the military to do that if he does that.
Well, he's going to have, by that time, installed all of his people in all those positions.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that there won't be people below them who say, you know what, no, I'm not doing that.
We'll see.
The military would have to split. I'm not saying it would be like, oh, the military is going to step in. The military would have to split. That's where the Civil War comes in. It won't be, us with muskets shooting at our neighbors. It'll be one half of the military fighting the other half of the military around us.
Yeah.
And then we'll get involved because, Americans, bang, bang, shoot, shoot. We just like our guns. So,
Well, I mean, everyone in this country has guns. There's more guns in this country than people.
Oh yeah, I know. More gun death too.
Yeah.
But we have more answers, more guns. So
yeah, I think I think J.D. Vance is definitely the leader in the clubhouse at this point
for the future. Yeah.
And I mean, he's pretty young too, isn't he? He's
It's our age.
Is he
I believe so.
early 40s,
Uh,
early to
late
mid 40s?
40s. Late 40s, Nick. You're going to be 46 this year.
No, I'm
You're
talking about
past
JD
that.
Vance.
Yeah,
know
I
how
think he's
old
our.
I am.
But I think he's our age. I think he's.
No, he's not. He's
Like-
fucking younger. He'll be 41 in August.
Oh.
So
Looks
JD
older.
Vance is gonna be around for a while.
Oh yeah, I knew that. Even if he was our age, he'd be around for a while. We're not that fucking old. I've got at least a good 5 years left in me. You've got maybe 10.
I've got a lot longer than that.
Yeah, I know you do. I don't. 5 years is probably my best bet. But you know,
I don't know. It's gonna be. I think it's definitely gonna be a trying 4 years. You know, this is the whole thing. Like, and I've said this since he won the election is, you know, other than like a monetary hit, their policies aren't gonna really impact me. But
well, your taxes are going to go up.
yeah, that's why I said, you know, monetarily it'll hit me, but you know, that's kind of it. Like, none of his other policies are really going to negatively impact me, but it will negatively impact a lot of people in this country.
And potentially your children generationally. You know,
I mean, you know,
because the economy is going to. Because what we've seen it time and time again, when an economy gets so top heavy, it has nowhere to go but down.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen. It's going to collapse. Whether it collapses a little like it did in the past or collapses a lot like it did in the past, it's gonna fall under the weight of its own greed.
Yeah.
It always does. And
And,
that will affect your children and your grandchildren if you have them.
We'll see how we come out of it, I guess. But
Like I said, I've only got 5 years. I've got nothing to worry about.
you're like, fuck it, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
You're
I'll
like,
be
fuck it, I'll be
dead.
dead.
I shouldn't even be. I shouldn't even be allowed to vote because what I vote for doesn't matter.
I mean, what the hell? You got 150-year-old people collected in Social Security, right?
Right.
Which is all bullshit, also. But
Oh, there's fraud, but nothing what they're talking about.
well, no, I guess that's the one thing I find kind of comical is, you know, Elon Musk and his I call him Elon Musk and his Doge bags. You know, they're all
Yeah.
supposed to be these tech geniuses, but they don't understand old fucking technology apparently, because that's how they came up with 150. Is, you know, it's just a misunderstanding of how that technology works. Because anything government related is really fucking old because it costs a lot of money to upgrade.
Digitize, yeah. Well, I know. Like I said, I'm not that smart, but I can see the big picture. These people apparently either don't want to or can't, and they
You mean the voters? They
all
don't
of
want
them.
to. They don't want to. They don't want to because their side won, so they don't care. They don't care what
Right.
they do. They don't care how they're hurt. All they care about is that they won, and they're gonna get to own the libs,
Yeah.
even though they're the ones
That
more
benefit from
likely are going to be
libs
more impacted by it than anyone else.
because they're the ones who benefit from liberal policies. You know, like welfare and Medicaid and school lunches and lower taxes.
And you know, all the medical research that just got cut also.
Yeah.
You know, because
Well, Republicans don't get cancer.
I mean, I was this is like completely off topic. I went to a church one time when we moved back to Michigan, and I knew it was my time to go when the guy started talking about how sinning causes cancer. And we're like, hold on one second, like little kids get cancer. Like, what the fuck did they do? Like, that's why I was like, all right, it's
He's
time
not
to go.
he's not the one you should be asking that question.
Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't understand why anyone would want to go to somebody who can't know anything more than you do about how anything works. We all either know the same or not the same. We know yes or no. No one can know what happens to us when we die. Period.
I've got an answer for that. You know why people go?
Because they're afraid to
Because-
die.
What's that?
Because they're afraid to die.
No, it's not. It's not necessarily that. I mean, I'm not afraid to die. So, especially nowadays, a lot of people don't want to fucking read. They don't want to sit there and read the Bible.
Right.
They want to sit there and have somebody tell them what to think about the Bible and what their interpretation of the Bible is. There's if you go on Instagram, there's a guy named Dan McClellan who is a biblical scholar. He's really interesting to watch because he just like tears apart these religious arguments on social media. That's really interesting because he knows what the fuck he's talking about. It's if you're, and I know you're an atheist, but if you're somebody who's at least somewhat interested in religion, he's somebody good to follow. He's a Mormon though too, but just kind of throw that out there. Him and his magic pajamas.
Magic pajamas and Trump 1.0, because that's what John Smith was, essentially. Yes. Was Trump 1.0.
But I don't know. I guess we kind of end it there. Anything else you need to add? No. Nothing I can say that's going to make any fucking difference anyway. I just wanted to get on here and rant a little bit. But
we did.
Any questions or comments, you can email us at
nowhere.
We don't have a fucking email address. You can
this will be on YouTube, so just drop a comment.
Sure, drop a comment. All that YouTube kind of stuff.
All that hate and visceral rage that you want to throw at us, please.
I'm sure there'll be some of that if people watch the video. But
yeah, I hope so. I love it. I love that.
But that's all we got. Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.